And welcome to episode 16 of the Backdoor Cut podcast. We've got a full house tonight. We've got, obviously, Jamie, as usual, Jamie Rico, Nelson Espinal, and then we've got Kyle back after we decided that we liked him from the last podcast that he was on. And then and then we have Jacob Rude, who me and me and Nelson like to get after every once in a while on Twitter. How are you guys doing?
You also enjoy doing it on the podcast without having me on. See how feisty you guys are tonight.
Yeah. Well, if you've watched any of the podcasts, you realize I'm always feisty.
Very true.
Fair point.
How are you, Jacob?
I'm doing well. For the first time in a while, the Lakers don't have me depressed, so I'm doing well.
Good. Jamie, how are you? Other than asleep.
Yeah, other than asleep, I'm doing pretty well. Happy about the Lakers also for the first time since they traded for Dwight Howard, maybe.
Oh
man. How are you doing, Kyle? Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I'm glad I didn't disappoint too many people last time. And I'm also happy about the Lakers for the first time ever.
True. And how are you doing, Nelson? You're out of school now, aren't you? Look at you. You're going to be a junior next year, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm all grown up now.
You're turning into a man.
I'm finally over the entire Citadel thing, so I'm trying to hop onto the running generation.
All right.
Does Nelson sound like a robot for anyone?
Yeah, I didn't catch a word of that.
Yeah. I'm blaming Nelson's mom since she had to yell at him on the last podcast. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. But then again, I had to run over to my parents' house because my internet sucked. So, yeah, don't laugh at me like we did at Nelson just now. All right, fellas, we've got obviously big news that happened a couple days ago in the lottery night. If anyone watched the last episode, we all freaked out, and we even became a GIF by Advith on Twitter. He got our reactions, and I look ridiculous. But so, Jacob, what was your reaction upon learning that the Lakers got the second overall pick?
Well, I guess either good or bad, depending on how you look at it. I was actually working that night. I was covering a track meet. I knew it was coming. Going into it, I was pretty happy about it because, I can work at this meet. I won't look at the time. It'll be fine. I won't know what's going on. And then as soon as I got there, about every 15 minutes, I'm looking at my phone to see what time it is. I never got on Twitter, though. I had my cousin texting me updates, and when he just said, Lakers keep the pick, I spent the whole time saying, I don't care if we keep the pick, but there was just kind of a sense of relief.
Yeah.
It was I know I said it, but after watching how bad we were all season, it was just kind of relieving to know something was going to come of it. That watching Byron and having Byron force us into alcoholism was going to result in the number 2 pick. So I guess relief is probably the best adjective I have for it.
I wonder how many people went to alcohol after every game. I know on many occasions, Kyle. I remember it was after early East Coast game. I can't remember exactly where. I had to go run an errand after a game, and I went to Bevmo. I don't know if you guys know what Bevmo is. It's I think it's just kind of like a California thing. It's like a big liquor wholesale store, like a liquor Costco. There we go.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like my type of place.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was awesome. So I go there, and they were having a crazy sale, and I'm a member, so I came back with 2 giant jugs of liquor, and my wife was like, are they really affecting you that much? I'm like, I'm gonna plead the fifth on this one, babe. I'm sorry. Jamie, I think we got your reaction pretty well. Like, I get the pick!
I really didn't think I cared about it going in. But like Jacob, when we got it, I was just relief and joy that I didn't expect.
Yeah. Kyle, what about you?
I was always in the camp where it was like, if we keep it, that's awesome, but I want the top two. And if we didn't keep it, I was looking at next year's draft class like, okay, there's some really good guys there. So I was relieved, like everyone else was, just to have the weight off of my chest because it felt like, you know, there was just too much uncertainty with it. And then now I'm looking at, you know, the differences between Brandon Ingram and Ben Simmons, and you know who I kind of want, and it felt good to keep it. Yeah, it felt good.
Good. Nelson, you had to apologize to your mom because you were cursing. No. So, yeah. and obviously I was subject to becoming a GIF on that one because I was freaking out so much. So, well, I know it's a little bit off of the outline, but what are your first reactions for who you want? And I'm going to skip Nelson right now because I already know who he wants. Let's go with Kyle.
Brandon Ingram, that's my guy. That's kind of always been my guy. I just think he's a much, much, much better fit than Ben Simmons. And obviously he's going to do well with Julius Randle. And I just can imagine, you know, D'Lo passing it out to Brandon Ingram, Ingram making the three. And you hear, what's his name? I'm trying to remember the announcer's name, but he just goes, bang.
Mike Breen.
Yeah. And so I feel like that's just going to be a really good combo, and I'm really, really excited for that. But obviously it depends on what Philly does. So.
Yeah. Jamie?
I'm an Ingram guy, but I'm also not anti-Simmons. So I'm just happy to be in the top two.
All right. Well, Nelson, I'm just going to answer for you. You want Simmons.
Of course.
Jacob, I'm interested to see what you say. You wrote a very long piece that I only got to read part of because it was
long.
So it was long, but it was very good. A giant piece on Ben Simmons. Who is that? Who you want, or was that just because everyone was down? Because I think you wrote that before the tournament when they were, you know, obviously not picked to go in.
Yeah, it was. I believe it was a little bit before the tournament, and you kind of hit it. I wrote it at the time because I mean there was a lot of anti-Simmons going on, and I kind of felt like at times people might pay a little too much attention to kind of the off-court stuff, and at times kind of make mountains out of molehills. Where on the court, man, he's fun to watch. I mean, there are very few players in the last probably 10, 15, 20 years who are his size who can do what he can do. As far as Simmons versus Ingram, I mean, it might be a little bit of a cop-out, but I mean, I'd love either one of them. I can see the positives to either one. I'm pretty big on just taking the best player and kind of figuring out fit later. So because of that, I might be probably slightly leaning a bit towards Simmons. And I mean, just to think of the passing with Russell and Simmons together, pick and rolls with Simmons and Randall and stuff like that. But at the same time, like what Kyle was saying, seeing Russell kick out to Ingram for a three, or seeing Ingram back somebody into the post and just shoot over top of them. I mean, there's a lot. The fact that we're debating which one of these guys we want kind of shows how great our situation is right now. So I would happily take either one, but right now I'm probably leaning a bit towards Simmons.
Yeah, and I want to clarify real quick. Like, I am an Ingram guy, but if we get Simmons, I'm not like depressed or anything. Like that's still a great player. So I'm just kind of like Jacob in a way that we're just in a great situation where we have good young guys and we have the opportunity to draft one of these kids, and it's just a really good time for Lakers fans right now.
Unless we have to trade Randall, then I'll be depressed.
Right, right.
And kind of on that note, real quick, I'll interject. I know a lot of people say, oh well, if we draft Simmons, we have to get rid of Randall. I'm quite the opposite. I think, and I wrote in the piece, I think there are a lot of similarities between Simmons and Draymond Green, who is somebody you definitely can't. Draymond Green's the outlier; he's the exception. You can't make comparisons to him, but that kind of gives you an idea of what he could become. And I think with a coach like Luke Walton, I think he could work Simmons and Randall in the lineup together. It would probably result in Russell maybe being taken off the ball a little bit more. But, I mean, I'm very much of the belief that if you draft Simmons, you keep Randall, you keep them together for probably the whole year, see how it kind of panned out there, and then next offseason make a move then. I wouldn't make a move this offseason. We're still, even if we have Simmons next year, it's still going to be a bit of a growing season. Let the two of them see if they can figure it out. If they can't, then you make the move.
All right, I'll get to you in just a second, Nelson. I was just kidding about answering for you. I guess my question for you, Jacob, since you wrote the piece and you're leaning towards him, how do you think they will fit together? I've been obviously very adamant on here. I don't think that they can be on the court all the time together because I think it would require Simmons to be a small ball 5. I have no belief that he's going to be a 3 just because the shot is just so bad. And I know some people say that you can fix that and they'll pull up like Kawhi Leonard, but those guys are outliers, just like Draymond is an outlier himself. Where would you play him, or just screw it and play positionless basketball like guys like Jalen Rose and whatnot like to say?
I think it would take some creativity. In a sense, you probably do have to have some positionless basketball. If Luke's looking to bring in the ball movement that Golden State has, that's going to help. If you always have guys moving and cutting, it'll help. If you have Simmons, Randall, Clarkson, and Russell on the court, those are 4 guys who are great passers of the ball. I think, and I wrote in the piece, I'm of the belief that Simmons, I don't think his shot's as bad as people think it is, because at times you would see him when teams would leave him open. If I recall correctly, there was a game against Auburn where they just were playing him saying, we're going to pack the paint, you can have as many jumpers as you want. And he hit 3 or 4 early, and then it got to the point where he was backing down and hitting turnaround jumpers. So I think his mindset was, I can beat these guys off the dribble, so why should I settle for a jumper? But then again, I'm not saying his jumper's good. His jumper needs a lot of work. But I think you could play him eventually down the road. I could see him potentially as a 3. It's going to take a lot. It's going to be a weird fit if you play Randall and Simmons, but I think they're both just so talented. And after a year, I'm not ready to trade away really anybody that played under Byron yet because their value's so low, and you really don't know what you have of them. Because I don't know what the percentages are, but I would say a vast majority of the points Randall scored this year were just isolation plays. He would just get the ball at the elbow and be forced to create for himself. So I think a positionless basketball is probably the best way to go about it. It's going to be ugly defensively if you play them both on the court, but there's going to be growing pains. So.
I think that's biggest concern would be that. I think maybe he could guard threes because he's just so damn athletic. I mean, he's an incredible athlete. It's just if you are playing him at the small ball 5, I don't know, because his on ball isn't amazing. It's not terrible. It's the off ball that's like with all young players though. Off ball is going to be bad. It's just I'm wondering if the rim, like if you're going to play him at the small ball 5, Draymond is a good rim protector playing the small ball 5. Is Ben going to be the same way? So I don't know.
Past him, he is taller than Draymond. He's what, 6'10", right?
He's 6'10" and
a freak athlete. I mean,
yeah.
I know it's a lot of instincts, but I wouldn't be surprised if he can be an adequate rim protector for, like, how often they play the lineup of death for Golden State. They don't play it a ton of minutes, so I think the Lakers might be able to work in something like that with short bursts of Randall and Simmons in the front court.
And he showed a little bit of an ability to protect the rim. I mean, he didn't. I don't know. I actually have him pulled up. He averaged. It was only 0.8 blocks a game, but I mean, Draymond Green, it was somewhere. He averaged less than a block a game his senior year. And here
I think it was
pulled up. Draymond is 6'7" and a half. This was at the combine. 6'7" and a half with a 7'1" wingspan. Simmons is 6'10" with a 7-foot quarter-inch wingspan. So I mean, Simmons' standing reach is about 4 inches higher. So I mean, it's comparable. He has a much higher vert. So you could see the tools are there, but again, like I've said, nobody really has become what Draymond Green has become. So it's hard to make that comparison, but you could see what he could become.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Jacob reappeared. I think I'm opening up more to it, but I just think the beating of him going against guys like DeAndre and Whiteside and Boogie and all that is just, he's going to out athlete him, if that makes any sense. But just being able to bang down there all the time is just a big question. So we'll get to Nelson, who finally gets to talk about his beloved Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I actually don't want to talk about Ben Simmons because I think I said all I need to say about him. I actually want to talk about Brandon Ingram, and I'm just gonna say that I think people are overrating his defense into the league. He was an outstanding defender at Duke. He had a couple moments where he had lapses, but overall he played really good defense, and I think that once he gets to the NBA and with the strength, and if he has a plug and play at the 3, I think he will struggle to guard the more better wings. I think the lower tier wings he won't have any real trouble with, but I think once he gets into like if he ever has to guard DeRozan or someone of a higher caliber, I think that's where he's really going to struggle because he's going to get just overpowered. I think
DeRozan will be his teammate, so.
Don't do that.
And I just think that even though his length does make up for some of it, I think he's really going to struggle early on. And I think the Ben Simmons play, and I know how worried you are about his defense play, and I just think that it's all about effort. And I think I'm not saying that.
Okay, Byron.
No.
It's all about effort.
No, really, because if you look at his tape early on, he looked much more energized and wanted to play good defense. He got some good block shots. He went for steals. I think as he's progressed and how LSU just spiraled down, I think he spiraled down with them, and I think his defense went there. So I think because he has pretty good instincts from what I've seen, I just think that his off ball is going to be really bad when it comes to it. I just think that if he really dedicates himself, I think he can become an average rim protector. I'm not saying I don't think he can become a really good rim protector. I'm saying they can become average.
Simmons is also pretty strong, right? Like he's pretty
very much
filled out for a 19-year-old.
He's physically matured.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like Ingram, who is as thin as a rail.
Who looks like a 19-year-old.
Who looks like a 19-year-old, except a giant 19-year-old.
I mean, physically in ways, he reminds me of LeBron. I mean, LeBron came in physically, he was ready for the NBA. Physically, Simmons is ready for the NBA.
Right.
So, obviously, if anyone's ever watched, I'm a huge Ingram guy. I prefer him. I'm coming more onto the side of Simmons. I mean, it really doesn't matter because it's all up to Philly. So I think the question, we shortly talked about it on last podcast, but who do you think, Jamie, that Philly's going to take?
I think they're still taking Simmons. He's still probably regarded as the best chance to become a superstar, which Philly is always looking for. And even though, whatever his name is, the GM that's on ESPN thought that Simmons was a guard, he can be their main ball handler and distributor, which Philly can benefit from a lot. So I still think that they're leaning Simmons.
I agree. Jacob, what do you think?
I feel it's hard to say because I understand the argument. They still need a superstar because nobody on the roster they have now is a superstar or quality. That's what I'm looking for. Unless you really think Embiid's going to be something still, but he's just a terrible fit for what they have. I mean, they already need to move some of their forward/centers. They have Okafor, Noel, Saric is coming over, Embiid's coming back, and really those three of them are centers. And two of them didn't work well on the court together, and now you want to add somebody who's probably at his best as a power forward who's not going to be able to space the floor right away. It really doesn't make sense to draft Simmons. I think they really need a shooter like Ingram. That being said, I would say Simmons probably is more likely to be the superstar, has a superstar quality. I think that's who they end up going with.
And I also don't know how true that rumor was earlier that Boston trading the third pick for Okafor or whatever it was that was floating around. But if they can do that and take one of the shooters earlier on top of
Simmons,
add
Chris Dunn,
right?
Or Jamal Murray, either way.
Or Buddy Hield.
Fine by me. I don't have the third pick anymore. So.
Celtics are definitely taking Buddy Hield with 3 if they keep it.
Bleacher Report's pretty adamant that they're going to take Buddy Hield, which is somewhat surprising. A Bleacher Report. So.
It's surprising? I totally believe Bleacher Report would say that. I'm surprised Jacob hasn't started yelling at me already.
He's holding it in. You can see his face.
Hey, we don't have the 3 pick anymore, so I don't have an argument to make. I'm not going to argue that they should draft Buddy Hield second. So
I do like how you sent out that tweet saying that you don't have to troll me anymore.
Oh, I'm still going to try, but I mean, I still have DeMar DeRozan to work with.
Yeah, we all try.
Man. Oh, man.
Future Laker DeMar DeRozan.
All right, I'm going to mute you already. Kyle, who do you think they go with?
Probably Simmons, for all the same reasons that these guys have said. He's probably got the higher superstar capacity there. Fit for them is probably Ingram, but I think Simmons is too good for them to pass up at that pick.
Agreed. I have a feeling Nelson's going to say Ingram because all year he's been preaching that you take the best player available, and his best player available just happens to be Ingram. Now that the Lakers had a chance at number 2, so are you still going Ingram? Ingram, Nelson.
I think it's pretty 50-50, and I think that I think on the Upside Motor podcast or what it was called that I heard Spain was on, I think they brought up a good point that I don't know how many times Philly can keep just taking the best player available and trying it and moving assets. I mean, I think the fans have gotten pretty old just trying. I think that's going to be considered because does Colangelo want to deal with the fit issues again and the growing pains again. And unless you think Simmons is going to be a superstar, which I do think that he's going to be, I don't know if Sixers necessarily think that he's that sure of a thing. And I think they obviously need a shooting. I think D'Antoni would appreciate some floor spacing, but I also think that he'd appreciate Ben Simmons passing. So I think it's really close. And I don't mind whoever they take. I don't mind the Lakers getting whoever falls, but I think that they'd probably take Simmons, and that they'd figure out the rest later.
Look at you. I do think that they take Simmons. I think Ingram has the highest ceiling of anyone in the draft.
So wouldn't you say that they would take Ingram?
If I was them, I would take Ingram, but this is who I think they take. I think that they take Simmons because I've brought it up I don't know how many times. Can you imagine Ben Simmons throwing lobs to Noel?
It'd be so much fun to watch.
Oh my word!
Noel made Isaiah Cannon look decent for a while there.
He made Ish Smith look like
Smith,
people in Philly, like some Philly fans are still incredibly high on Ish Smith, and he might just be a backup. So I think that what they just do is they find a place for Okafor. He doesn't make much sense for them with the people that they have. Jeremy Grant, athletic, can jump, catch lobs all day from Simmons as well. They have the 24 and 26 pick, right?
24.
So, 24. Yeah, 24 and 26. So 24, you hope that Malik Beasley's still there. There's your shooter and your spacing. 26, you hope for DeAndre Bembry, who's another capable ball handler. He's got some shooting issues, but if Mike D'Antoni is still in Philly and he doesn't take the Houston job, which that's an interesting one to me.
Harden would be fun with Mike D'Antoni.
Harden would score 100 points.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was. It might have been Bill Simmons tweeted, I'd love to see MDA with James Harden just to see if somebody can break Wilt's 100-point scoring.
Yeah, that was him. I honestly don't understand that one at all because someone tweeted out that he ran 556 or something like that isolation plays this season. That's more than 9 teams this year. Like, I know that Steve Nash was really ball dominant, but man, that's a lot of ISO in that system. Yeah, if MDA stays around, that's his dream guy right there. I mean, he made Amari into a capable shooter. So. Yeah, I think it just
would be a lot of fun too. It'd be highlights every night.
It would be.
Would they consider? I saw it mentioned by some Philly fans, just kind of passing. I mean, if you're Philly, would you consider just running Simmons as a point guard? I mean,
I would try it for sure.
With what they have, just play him as a point guard.
Yeah, I think that if you take Simmons, there's going to be a lot of experimenting.
If you get 2 good shooters to put on the wing, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I think that they might really look at trade Okafor for that 3 pick. I think I threw it out there, and I think that it's a pretty fair deal. I think maybe if Philly says no, they want a little bit more, that they could toss in a late first rounder. Boston has plenty, so that they could just give up whatever they want.
Yeah, they got 26 as well, and 17. I don't know if they would give that up too.
They have so many picks.
Yeah, what is it, 8 or 9 in the draft? I mean, they're going to have to shed some of that. There's no way that they pick all of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially I think a lot of what moves they may make depend on, I mean, if Mike D'Antoni's the coach at Philly next year, that Okafor is useless to him.
Yep.
Like, you have to move Okafor, and that kind of settles a lot of their front court issues, but if Okafor or if MDA takes the Houston job, then I guess Okafor, I get it's. I don't know who you trade. I mean, Okafor has to be like the odd man out there. Nerlens Noel's the best guy, best big man they have. nobody's going to want to trade for Embiid. They might be able to move Saric, but they're not going to get. I don't know what they drafted him. It was a lottery pick. You're not going to give up a lottery pick for Saric.
He was picked at 12,
16.
and I think it was 12, and it was technically their pick back from Orlando, who Orlando wanted Elfrid Payton.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, Okafor has to be the odd man out, but again, he had such a rough year, especially off the court.
Don't tell that to a lot of people. Don't tell them.
You're certainly not going to get the number. I mean, if Boston gave up the third pick for him, I'd be stunned. That'd be very dumb of Boston, which I'd be fine with. But
in hopes of trying to remain somewhat neutral. Oh crap, that's going to go over. Oh never. No, I'm good. In hope, and I know we're a Lakers podcast, but for the sake of being neutral, so I don't know if that's a terrible move, because who do they take? Who does Boston take at 3? I think most of us would take Bender. Maybe Jacob probably take Kyle.
They probably take Bender. They probably should.
They probably should. But if they're worried about him, I mean, you get the guy that was picked 4th overall last year, and can do some really good things, in the post and whatnot, and then you just hope that Brad Stevens is, able to get something out of him on defense.
I mean,
probably somehow.
Yeah, it's basically, do you consider Okafor at number 3 a better prospect than anybody you have available? Right. And if that's the argument, then the draft's really bad after the top 2. So I guess I could probably see why they would move. I would probably move for Okafor, but as much as I loved Okafor at Duke, I mean, the NBA's moving a lot smaller, and he looked at times. I mean, he really struggles rebounding, and he really struggles defending, and he can't play anything but center. So, I mean, Brad Stevens is a magician, but I don't even know if he can fix that.
Yeah. I think that if they don't move Okafor and they draft Simmons, that's going to be probably the worst defensive team just right there. And I think
that would be good for Memphis, and they can just keep playing 90s ball for the next 15 years.
And
I've seen Chicago floated around by some people. I don't know about that one. I didn't watch Hoiberg at Iowa State, so I have no clue how he would run that. Maybe the 2 Central America people would know here. one in Indiana and one in Illinois. Did you guys watch Hoiberg at Iowa State, or you have any?
No.
I watched him a bit. The problem is, for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years, he's had Georges Niang, who is a small ball 5, basically. He's played him a lot at center, so I mean, there's no real there was no real comparison for him to make with Okafor. I mean, they played a little bit of a pro style, but it was a more of an up and down type of tempo, and I don't know what Chicago would give up, but I don't know.
Yeah.
The problem is he's just. I don't know where Okafor fits. Like, I don't know what the best case scenario for him is. Probably to go to San Antonio for Popovich to shape him into a Hall of Famer or whatever he does over there.
Yeah.
Do you think Okafor would be a Hall of Fame candidate if he was a rookie 15 years ago?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's
not. Yeah. If he played like in the era that Shaq dominated, yeah. I mean, very much so.
One other team that I could see, I have no idea what they would trade for him, but Charlotte, with how a lot of people have compared Okafor to, a younger Al Jefferson, and Clifford, he's a defensive wizard, and he got them a top 3, top 5 defense with Al Jefferson as his center. I don't know. I know I like the whole beginning of this was, I think that Okafor is going to have to be dealt because I do think that Simmons is the pick for them. I mean, it just.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Brian Colangelo's gushed over him already in several interviews. Yeah, and Brett Brown, he has, and Brett Brown coached his dad for 5 years in Australia. They're both from Australia, obviously, and he has a personal relationship with Ben. So I just kind of think that does it in. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree.
I agree. Yeah, I can't imagine them not picking Simmons at this point. Things might change with the workouts and the interviews, but as of now, I think it's pretty safe to say it's Simmons.
I think it also depends on the market for Okafor. I think if you don't think they get equal value back on Okafor, then I think the pick has to be Ingram, right? I mean, because you can't have Okafor and Simmons working together unless you think that Simmons somehow upgrades Okafor value, then you deal after this upcoming season.
The problem with that is are you getting equal value back? Are you getting equal value back having him on the court at all?
Right.
In my opinion, I mean, I got a question from Ryan Suarez on Twitter earlier today saying, I have someone come to find out he was arguing with the HP basketball. I was just like, oh great, my mentions are about to get blown up, which thankfully they didn't. Okafor had an offensive rating of 92 and a defensive rating of 108, so negative 16. It was terrible. So clearly they were better with him off the floor. I think the real question then is it valuable just to even have him on the team? I mean, I would hope that he would get better, but then, if you think Ben Simmons is the star, and you have everyone else other than Okafor, he fits perfectly other than with Okafor.
Right. I think Okafor still has a ton of value to some GM out there. Somebody's still going to see the smoothness he has on offense and think that they can make him compete well enough on the defensive end to make it work. There's a few GMs out there that have to think that when they watch him play.
I agree. I mean, you can hide people somehow, like San Antonio had a historically good defense with LaMarcus Aldridge starting at the 4, and he wasn't very good on defense.
And I think Jamie kind of hit the nail on the head with somebody is always gonna think that they can kind of fix them. But I mean, at the end of the day, we spent kind of 5-10 minutes railing on him, but he's still a 20-year-old who was. I mean, he had a bad rookie year, but he was also in a terrible situation. There's a lot of reasons to believe that he can still be something. It's just the fit in Philly between both on-court and off-court, it just isn't a good one, I don't think. And I think it's probably best for both sides to kind of move and go their separate ways, basically, and move him for what you can now.
Right.
Right. I just don't think that Philly should just necessarily burn an asset. I think maybe. Yeah. Okay, you can laugh. It's fine.
I'm sorry. It's just I know that you truly think Simmons is the number 1 overall pick. Right. So it's just I don't know.
No, I'm just trying to come at it both ways because I do think that Simmons is going to be the pick. I can't do anything to change that. Even though as I just said, want him in LA, I can't do anything about that. I just worry about how Philly should go about this. I think Ingram just makes the most sense, but I think they probably will end up just going for Ingram. I mean for Simmons, so it doesn't matter.
Thank you, Honey. Steve Clifford is a defensive hornet, not a wizard. Thank you. You're awesome. And then Drew Hernandez. Thank you, Byron Scott. Well, sorry. After seeing those, I had to respond to that. All right, terrible transition into the state of the rebuilding process. What do you? how would you guys rate the rebuild so far? Let's go with Nelson.
I would give it a B, a solid B. I think I'm not going to give them 100% credit because they did have some luck of the lottery and how the ping pong balls fell, so I can't give them an A just for that because I think the Russell and the Randall and the pick that we have right now, I think that's all been just luck of the ping pong balls. So they shouldn't really get credit for that, but I think just rebounding from the entire the Dwight horror that it was after Dwight left, and I think they rebounded nicely. I think they've done the best that they could. They tanked for 3 seasons now, and I think they got valuable assets. They kept the picks, and now although some of the great hinders on what they do this year, with whether they, I don't know, for some reason they take this year or they trade some of the young guys, but I think that I trust the front office enough to know that they're probably going to make the right signings.
Kyle?
I think it's way too early to really judge the rebuild at this point. Like Nelson said, we can't really chalk up good rebuilding with the luck of the draw in the ping pong balls. I think we made some pretty good choices in the later rounds. Like obviously Clarkson wasn't like the luck of the draw really. It was we wanted him, so we bought a pick. And I think Larry Nance and Anthony Brown were good picks for where they were at in the draft. I think time will tell kind of with the rebuild and how we're going to get things going. Especially, I don't think we can judge it yet because it's too soon since after Byron is gone. Byron's only been gone a month now. And
oh, thank God.
Yeah, I know. It's just way too early to judge what the team's going to be like without him leading the helm. So it's good that he's gone, and I'm looking forward. But I think it's just too early to say that we're going to be great again in 2 years.
Let's go with you, Jacob. What do you think of the state?
I'll just say, for me, the rebuild probably started the summer after. I mean, the summer Dwight turned us down. Which I mean, if I had to give a grade, I would say it's probably something like a B minus, maybe a C plus, mainly because they hired Byron Scott and then kept him for 2 years. But if you look, I have it pulled up here, the 2012-13 team that had Dwight and Steve Nash, the 4 youngest players on our team, like what you would probably consider our assets, Darius Morris, out of the league, Devin Ebanks in the D-League, Darius Johnson Odom, I believe is playing overseas, Sacre, and you can add the 5th, Gaudlock, who is a fringe player in the NBA. So to go from that to 3 years later, we're 3 years later. I don't even know what year it is. We're 3 years later, where we have Russell, Clarkson, Randall, Nance, Simmons or Ingram. In that regard, they've done a fantastic job drafting. I know really prior to that year, they took a lot of flack because during those championship years, they were awful at drafting. They would sell the picks a lot. They drafted Darius Morris and I believe Sacre together maybe. Or no, it was Darius Morris and Gaudlock together, and they drafted Darius Johnson, Odom, and Sacre together. Which, I mean, those were terrible picks aside from maybe Sacre. I mean, he was a 60th pick. I don't know what you expected out of a 60th pick, but
according to Jamie's mentions, a superstar.
Oh, man.
For a 60th pick, he's been fine. But nonetheless, I mean, from a drafting perspective, they've done great. Free agency, I know and rightfully so, they've taken a lot of flack for going for the home run too much, but they've been able to get guys on really great contracts. I mean, Ed Davis was a great contract. They didn't do anything with it. Brandon Bass was a great contract. Again, didn't do anything with it. And Lou Williams, I know he took a lot of flack. He's under a great contract last year, and it's going to be even better going forward. So the reason I just give them such a harsh grade because they've just swung and missed on these coaching hires up until hopefully Luke. Letting go of D'Antoni and then hiring Byron after you needed 42 interviews to apparently not see that he was Byron Scott. But other than that, I mean, I know Gary wrote the piece today. I read it a little bit, but everything's went right this summer so far, which has just been a big, big help. It was, and I wrote a couple different times. Last year, I mean, there were points. It was probably the lowest point maybe in the franchise's history at times last year. So, I mean, you could only go up, but they're going up real fast right now.
Agreed. Real quick, I wanna comment. You had a piece out, or maybe it was just a tweet of trading Brandon Bass to Toronto for, I think it was Norm Powell and Bruno
Cabalacco, or however you say it.
Yeah, and I absolutely loved that one. I wish they could have pulled that one off. Now, obviously, they would never do that because Powell is really good. But man, at the time he was barely seeing the floor, and I was just like, that was awesome.
That's one of my biggest complaints about. I mean, they signed these guys to just great contracts like Bass and Davis.
Yeah.
To what you think would be like, oh, well, they can move that contract easily. I think at times in trades they overvalue their players. They did it with Powell really bad. They overvalued their player. They held on to him, and then they let them walk for nothing. Ed Davis did it. Bass is going to do it this summer. Powell did it, which is frustrating. If you know you're going to lose an asset, try to get something out of them. They did when they make trades, they're good trades. They traded Steve Blake and got Kent Bazemore.
Yeah, and the bus Marshawn Brooks, who I was very wrong on him.
Hey, they helped us win a game against the Celtics in like their first game, so I mean they're fine in my book. But yeah, I mean they're very up and down about things, but I think overall it's probably average, maybe slightly above average right now. I think shockingly, I really like them hiring Luke. I think he can really fit in with this young team, and that's exactly what they needed, was a young coach who can grow with this team and not some old man to cross his arms and yell about foxholes and fistfights.
Man. I think that some of the stuff that they've done this year, they kind of been no-brainers. Like, you pretty much fire Brian Salk. That's to be a given. You know, he didn't produce any results. He's had a negative impact on the young guys. That's pretty much a no-brainer. You fire him. Luke Walton was clear-cut the obvious choice and the best choice. They sat down with him, and they already knew that they were going to get him. So they were just talking basketball and laying out the plan, and then he just signed. I mean, it's not like what they've been doing is rocket science. So I think the grade really heavily relies on what they do this offseason and who they manage to get and how they play it out. If they go back to the old ways of waiting for KD just to re-sign with OKC or try to go after Dwight Howard because he's a big name.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
Somebody mute that man.
Jamie, what do you think? You're constantly getting this over at LP. So
yeah, I give it a B minus. There's a couple things obviously where they went wrong. There was the rumor that Golden State was interested in a sign-and trade with Dwight Howard for Klay Thompson. That looks like a huge mistake now. And
oh my goodness.
Just they really messed up that one with what Klay Thompson's become.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mind them waiting on the superstars too often because I feel that their plan was we're either going to get a superstar or we're going to keep our pick, which I'm fine with. It is, if they lose their picks either of these years, obviously it becomes a bad decision. So in hindsight, probably a good decision, but some lotto misfortune definitely changes the outlook. They've been pretty fantastic at drafting, taking Russell over Okafor.
Yeah,
there's seen as a gamble then just seems like a no-brainer right now. And Clarkson, Nance, which I didn't see a single positive tweet on draft night when they took Nance, and that turned out to be a slam dunk pick. Anthony Brown, I still have faith in. I feel like he was affected the most by Byron Scott, going from the D League to starting to back to the D League, not really having any role or consistent time. So they've done well. They've made a couple of really bad mistakes in hindsight, but overall, I like where they are right now, and I like where it looks like they're heading.
I think one quick thing. I think a big thing that I've seen from them is that they're learning from past mistakes, especially with regards to this coaching hire.
Mm-hmm.
If you look back when they fired D'Antoni, the list of candidates was awful. I mean, you had like Mike Dunleavy, Byron, like just some really bad candidates, and they waited, they drug it out, they went into free agency without a coach thinking that was going to work or whatever. This time around, when they determined Byron was gone, they had him gone. They interviewed the guy that they wanted. They loved the interview. They got the guy that they wanted, and they're going to include him in the free agency pitches. And all of this is the opposite of what they've done, which also is what makes me optimistic about free agency, that they may not necessarily just swing for Durant and not get anyone else, because between that and how much cap space we're going to have, they can still go after Durant and go after a guy like Kent Bazemore or Whiteside even, something like that. So I'm really optimistic in that regard because it does seem like they're learning.
And one thing I like to say on Twitter a lot is you can disagree with the initial decision to tear it down completely and rebuild from complete scratch. That's a pretty good argument that you can make. But I feel that after that decision, it's pretty hard to argue that they've been bad at rebuilding from scratch. I think the argument is whether or not you agree with the initial decision to start over.
Yeah, I think that if you're going to go into a rebuild, I think you have to just tear it down and just try to try your best to maintain your draft picks and try to get the best college players around it. And I think that's the real only way I see a rebuild. I think that and signing free agents, but I think their new free agency approach now corrects all that, and I think things are trending up. I mean, you couldn't get any lower, so it's just good to see if they can maintain it.
If it got lower, I'm just going to stop watching basketball.
I think I have to go at it a different way from all of you guys, because you're looking, I think, more at the process of everything. So I guess when Jamie sent the line of state, I think the state is actually really good with the Lakers. It's the process that was bad. Going after guys stupidly. Like, I never understood the whole Melo chase. I didn't understand that. LaMarcus Aldridge, he didn't want to play the 5, so what was he going to do here? Because were you going to deal Randall, a guy that you literally would not trade Randall for DeMarcus Cousins? So, which is another topic altogether.
Don't even bring up his name, please.
Huh?
Don't even bring up DeMarcus Cousins' name.
Yeah. I think the state of the Lakers right now is really good. We've got young talent. We've got the number 2. We've got $60 million in cap space. Well, potentially $60 million, but I mean, that's really semantics. I think the state of it, the process is really, I think, the real question. I think the biggest thing was always that asset management.
Yep.
I know everyone always bagged on Twitter of the free agency, and like you said, Jamie, I don't know if that was always the smartest decision or if they were doing it, and I mean, they ended up getting okay guys in the end anyways. But I think how Jacob said, the asset management, trading guys or not trading guys when they could have brought a return, and like Abbas, they could have traded Lou Williams. I know a lot of people were saying that. I know I wanted him gone. I still want him gone. Ed Davis. I don't know if you. You could have traded him on that 1-year deal, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I think that yeah, or kept him. He would have been great as a role man.
So Byron could put him on the end of the bench.
again.
While being paid $50 million.
The year when Randall went down, so 2 years ago, when we got Clarkson and we had Ed Davis. Those were the two guys. I didn't have cable or any way to watch the games, so all I could do was just check stuff on my phone. So like whenever those two played a lot, I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. But then when they would just get like DNP CDs, you know, did not play, coach's decisions, I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, but we didn't turn any of those guys into anything, and that's something that still kind of worries me. With you know, I've brought up on the podcast before Lou Williams. You know, the whole garbage with Nick Young and how supposedly him and D'Angelo had beef. You know, well, more like Lou had beef with D'Angelo. D'Angelo probably didn't really care. Do you honestly keep him and have that guy in the background just, you know, talking in Julius Randle's ear or talking in Jordan Clarkson's ear or whoever we draft, you know? The guy with 2 girlfriends, well, didn't have 2 girlfriends.
With Jamie?
Oh, yeah, Jamie. No, Jamie doesn't have 2. He has 3. So.
Right. We're starting this count over here.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think
girlfriend.
Oh man. I think that's just my biggest thing was the process wasn't always the best thing in the world, but you know, the state that we are in currently is pretty good.
You touched on Lou Williams just real quick. I know he took a lot of flack this year, but I think he was misused a lot by Byron. I think that if they don't trade him, which he has a great contract to trade at this point, if they don't trade him, I think he might have the most to gain, I guess, playing under Luke, because I mean, he was used a lot basically as the primary ball handler under Byron, and that's not really where he's most effective. So I mean, I assume Luke's gonna stagger Clarkson and Russell to a degree, and if you play Lou off ball more, he's gonna be more effective. I think I wasn't as critical of Lou last year just because I think he was misused so much. I mean, he was, like everybody on the team, he was basically just ISO every play, and you're not going to be nobody's going to be efficient if you're just trying to break down your man. I mean, look at all the game-winning or late game situations. It was always Lou getting the ball, trying to ISO around a guy and chucking up a deep contested shot because that's Byron's offense. He probably drew that up. So I think I'm not as critical on Lou, but I mean, all your points made. I mean, they were valid, especially the asset management. I mean, they have to get better, and this isn't even a new thing. They have to get better about not overvaluing their players and knowing when to just get something in return for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
just real quick, sorry, Nelson. The one thing that I do have to say that I do agree with you, Jacob, that he was misused. It would be interesting to see him more off ball, but my only thing is he's kind of been this player forever. He's this ISO guy, you know, and maybe Luke could change him. I'm not saying he couldn't. I do question how much a 30-year-old would listen to a 36-year-old head coach and just be like, yeah, whatever, bro. But I mean, I don't know. I guess that's just more of I would want a guy that could potentially be a cancer, or not maybe a cancer. That's probably too strong of a word, but just some sort of bad influence, and that it doesn't exactly fit the style of play that Luke and the Lakers now envision. Sorry, Nelson, to interrupt you there. You're good.
I just feel kind of bad for Clarkson because I don't know how he's going to fit if we draft Ingram. Because I've been pretty adamant about saying that I think Ingram should start at 2, just so he can gain some experience. If he is going to start, I think they could also play him off the bench and try to get him some dome and time from there. But I think that if he comes into the league, starts at the 2, and then if we sign the Kent Bazemore, then he probably ends up playing the 3 more. But they're pretty interchangeable at that spot. So then I think Clarkson goes to the bench, which I think will probably be his future role anyways. And I think the Williams gains from that in being he can play more off ball, and Clarkson can be a little bit more ball dominant and create offense from there. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
I would be fine starting Ingram at 2 and conditioning Clarkson for his future role as 6th man anyway. That's perfectly fine with me.
Yeah, I think he should play the 3, and that you just have your best guys out on the court, see how it goes. But
I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I can see the argument, and I mean I even made the argument in that piece for Buddy Hield. I can see the argument for Clarkson as a 6th man, but I think if you draft Ingram, his future is probably as a small forward. So if his future is a small forward, you already know you might as well just put him out there with what you assume to be kind of your core with Clarkson, Russell, and Randall, and just give those guys as many minutes together as you can and let them kind of grow together.
Yeah. I mean, I would even, if you're to sign, because I think the Lakers need to sign multiple wings this offseason.
I'm tired of Nick Young at small forward.
I used to love Nick Young. I was one of Nick Young's biggest fans back in the day.
Poor Jamie. He's got to be stretched, right?
God, I hope so.
I think so. I think they'll try to trade him for whatever they can get, and if not, stretch him.
They've been trying to do that though for 2 years, and I don't.
The contract's way too awful for them to trade. He basically put the nail in the coffin with this whole.
Mike D'Antoni should get half of his paycheck.
Very true.
Maybe just trade him to Philly for nothing. They got cap space here. You guys just take him, and we'll take a top 55 to 60 protected.
Philly's gonna have to get to that salary floor,
right?
That might be pretty tough for them this year with the cap rising.
Yeah.
You've seen them sign a bunch of people to like $10 million contracts and just
Richard Jefferson gets a $20 million contract from Philadelphia.
But back to Nelson's thing. I think that they need to sign multiple wings. I wouldn't have a problem starting him on the bench, and that sounds terrible, I know. But you start him out on the bench. You have these guys that he can learn from. You still play him a ton. No. You still play him heavy minutes, but you
start him off against second unit guys.
Yeah, because he's incredibly thin. Like Jacob, you're a Duke fan. You saw him when Emile Jefferson went down. He had to play a ton of 4. So I think he's stronger than a lot of people put on, especially that Chad Ford quote where that he had a GM saying that he's incredibly weak. I think that's a load of nonsense. If anyone really watched him, he did well in the post, and he didn't just like bounce off of guys.
He plays stronger than he plays stronger than he looks like he would play.
He just has one of those frames. I mean, similar to Durant, just his frame. I mean, even Durant now doesn't look. He still looks skinny. So I mean, I think a lot of it just has to do with how he looks. But I mean, yeah, you're right. When Emile Jefferson went down, I mean, he was a small ball 4 a lot. So I'm not too worried about physically. I mean, there's obviously a lot he has to do there, but I think that's a little overstated at times. I mean,
Yeah.
he's 18. Of course, he's not going to be physically mature.
Yeah. If you do it smartly, I wouldn't have an issue with it. That's kind of my thing. If you do it the right way. But I mean, like Jacob said, he's going to be a 3 in the future. Might as well just play him the 3 now.
Yeah. I just think that playing him at the 2 is the best way to get him accustomed to the NBA speed without benching him. I think that probably makes the most sense.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be terrible. A physical comp that I've brought up and I've sent in our group chat to Jamie, Nelson, and TJ. Go look at Giannis Antetokounmpo when he was drafted.
Yep.
Dude was same thing. He was an inch or 2 taller. I think he was drafted at 6'10". He might have been 6'11" though. Dude was so thin, but he had a wider frame. And Ingram's frame isn't huge. Durant is a little wider, but it's not like a Yi Jian Lian or any of like the Chinese or the guy that's going to be drafted this year, Zhao Qi.
The big zucchini.
Yeah, big zucchini. I saw that. I even looked, Jacob, when you said that was on a Draft Express comment. I even looked that up. That was awesome. That's another guy you can look at. If you saw him at the combine, he had a 7'6.5" wingspan or something like that, and that was all arms. There was like no shoulders. So while Ingram does have shoulders, if anyone gets what I'm saying. Jamie, you wanted to talk a bit about Gary's article over at Lakers Outsider. Do you think we touched enough on
I think
that
we
with the state of the rebuilding process?
A lot of the Lakers rebuilding has been good luck and good fortune, which seems to always happen for the Lakers throughout their entire history.
Yeah.
And be continuing right now with back-to-back number 2 picks with especially last year, the panic of losing that pick last year was 10 times what it was this year, and they still end up with the number 2 and a great pick in D'Angelo Russell.
The lottery is rigged. That's what I have to say.
I actually think Jacob might have been my only ally last year during that Orlando Magic game where Twitter was having a meltdown.
That was that was one of the it was last
That might be
season,
the lowest point of Lakers Twitter.
Road game at Orlando. We were beating them at the half, and Lakers Twitter was just they were
the game in December.
Yeah, I mean,
The one where the Vucevic hit the shot at the end to win it.
No, this was the year. I think it was the year before that.
Okay. Yeah, I was a part of Laker Twitter then, so
it was not a fun place to be that night.
Yeah, because I remember that was one of the first things I tweeted once we kept the pick. Because I mean, everybody's melting down like, "Oh, this game's going to be the one that costs us. Why are we doing this? This is awful." And like you said, that might be the low point of Laker Twitter. Like that night was just like there was just a dumpster fire that Lakers was. And one of the first things I tweeted after the Lakers kept those pick was just like, man, I'm sure upset that the Magic game really cost us D'Angelo Russell. Like that one sucked a lot. So I mean, there were times it happened again this year. I mean, I'm not one to like mid game to just freak out. Oh well, this is what cost us the pick right here. Like there wasn't as much of that this year, but again, it was a lot of luck. I mean, it makes up for how terrible our injury luck was there for a while, especially that Dwight Nash year. But there's a little bit of good karma coming around. And there was one more thing I wanted to mention. When we were talking about stretching Nick Young, I was looking at our roster. If we stretch Nick Young, which I'd be stunned if we don't, and you move Lou Williams, the oldest player, I'm not sure if he's under contract or not, oldest player under contract next year would be Robert Sacre. He was born in
He is the
1989.
long
Also,
right
be
now.
the most tenured Laker on the roster as well. So
He's a free agent. I think unrestricted too. So
Yeah,
okay,
man,
he's a
well
second
then
round
you're
pick.
looking at, I mean,
Anthony Brown, Larry Nance.
Tarek Black actually. I mean, he's a restricted free agent.
Yeah.
It would take a lot to lose him. So
Mhm.
so Tarek Black, born in 1991, going to be your oldest Laker next year as the current roster stands.
Oh my word. Oh man, that made me feel really old.
Me too, man.
Shut up! Like you're only 23 or 24.
About to be
Like
24, yeah.
I'm freaking 26, and I remember when I first got into drafts. I was like, it was the very first draft in NBA I paid attention to was the Yao Ming draft because I was like, this is just crazy. This guy's huge.
Oh, I think we lost Clayton.
No.
All right, so
You know,
we
it
move
was
on.
like
Oh, there he is.
11. Terrible. Did Jacob? What are we doing?
No, we lost him.
We lost you.
You're back.
Okay.
You're back.
All right. The first draft I paid attention to was the Yao Ming draft, and man, I feel so old. Oh man, I remember when I'd be like, he's older than me, and he's going to be drafted like back in high school. Like, yeah, that could be me one day, knowing fully not really. Oh my word, 24.
Yeah, it really didn't hit me that I guess how old I was versus how young these guys were until we drafted Russell, and they're like 19-year-old going to like I'm thinking they draft him like, oh, that's like I want his jersey now, and then it was like, oh, this 19-year-old going to the Lakers. I'm like, this dude's like 6 years younger than me, and I want to wear his jersey right now. Like that feels kind of weird.
Yeah. Yep. So weird. Now I feel like all I can buy is throwback jerseys. So then I can
just buy all
Man,
Kobe jerseys.
Kobe's a throwback jersey now.
Are you guys losing me?
A little bit. You're a little like fuzzy. I think you're back now.
Weird. All right, weird. I've got really good internet here at my parents' house too. All right. Well, let's go to the next one. Two guys you take at 32. Kyle, I have been talking to you a little bit about how you killed it on the LO podcast where you guys did the mock draft.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Who are two guys that you would take at 32?
So I'm going to tell you a guy that I won't take at 32 because he was on our Lakers Outsiders mock draft. Dylan Heiser actually picked him, and I see Jacob clapping in the background. I do not take A.J. Hammonds. And the only reason behind that is just because I loathe Purdue. But I keep seeing people say that they want him, and I'm just like, no. It honestly depends on who falls. It'd be nice to see DeAndre Bembry fall that far, but he won't. It'd be nice to see even like a Malik Beasley fall, but he won't. So I just kind of trust Mitch and his ninja ways to pick some guy that we haven't been talking about,
right,
like a Larry Nance, and then end up being this awesome guy. So I guess it's like an in Mitch we trust kind of thing for me at the 32. Because honestly, I haven't really looked at him either. But yeah, I guess in Mitch we trust. 2016.
real quick. Now that we kept the pick, Kyle. You and me have gone back and forth just a little bit on Twitter also about about buying a pick. Would you still do that now with 32 or no?
I think the Lakers, if they can afford a pick, which obviously they can, should buy a late second round pick or a mid second round pick. I just want to see what he would be able to do with it because I think we have good NBA scouts or good college scouts that can find us a gem in the rough and turn him into somebody who can come off the bench for us. Obviously, they're probably not going to be a starter, but because I think Jordan Clarkson's kind of a once in a franchise type player from the second round. So, It'll be interesting to see what Mitch can do there, but we'll just have to wait and see with him.
Yeah. Nelson, who would you take at 32? Or a couple options at 32?
I think two guys stand out are DeJuan Murray,
DeJounte Murray, I think it's pronounced.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that we really need one backup guard because we're going to be trading off Nick Young, who's a shooting guard / small forward, and we're most likely going to get rid of Lou Williams, which is another guard. So I think that DeJounte Murray is a good hole filler for us there, and I think that he's automatically an upgrade over to Bartos, which is something that we desperately need. And I think another name would be Don Maker, just because I think taking a flyer on him.
The two Lakers outsider guys are shaking their head. No.
I just think that he might be worth the look, and if Mitch, they have him going, I think 40 to the Pelicans. I think that if Mitch thinks that he has something to work with there, I think that a couple years developing in the league could help him because he's still pretty young. So.
Yeah. Jamie, have you done your homework and looked at guys at 32?
Zhao Qi and hold on, I'm on Draft Express right now.
That is
Patrick
not his
McCaw
name. His name is the Big Zucchini.
The Big Zucchini.
I'd like Key. I think that'd be fun. We need a center anyway. He was a center, right? I have no idea what's going on in the draft. I'm the last person to ask.
He's 7'2". If he's not a center, then Lord help him.
All right, yeah, I like him a lot. We should get him.
You just like him because I have no idea why you like him.
I like him because he's got a massive wingspan, and that's always fun. That's my scouting report on him.
You're sounding like me. That's funny. Oh, funny. All right,
he's
Jacob.
The next Yao Ming. He's a skinny Yao Ming.
Oh. Terrible.
Oh my. Hot take.
Jamie's expertise.
Yeah, the guy who wanted Okafor last year, and he went off.
And MKG was the best player in his draft.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the guy to talk to about the draft.
Jacob, who are a couple options that you would take at 32?
Two, not AJ Hammonds.
Yeah.
Not stay far away from Thon Maker. I followed him. He was somebody IU was recruiting pretty heavily. I've kind of followed him for the last couple of years. His situation's really weird. He's really like an unknown prospect. He wouldn't really play in front of cameras. His handler kind of kept him away from the spotlight. Nobody really knows what to make of him. There's just way too many issues there. Two guys I'd look at. Number one, Karis LeVert from Michigan. He has had some injury problems, but a point guard who is 6'7" with a 6'10" wingspan. Average about a steal a game, I believe. He can fill it up when he's healthy. That's a big if. But I think if at 32, coming at the kind of the midpoint of last year when he was healthy, he was a top 15 pick in last year's draft. He got hurt last year. Yeah. The injury kind of lingered around. He was out a lot this year. If you can get somebody like that, yeah, if you can get a guy like that at 32, that's a high potential guy. Another guy I really like who, not the best of fits, but is Gary Payton II, mainly because his defense, which is something desperately needed. He averaged 2.5 steals a game, just like his dad there. 6'8" wingspan. 38-inch vertical. Not a great scorer necessarily. Be a little bit of an interesting fit next to Russell and Clarkson, but their ability to play off the ball, he could play on the ball, really help with the defense, which is a big thing. And I'll give one more name. I'll cheat. Malcolm Brogdon's another one I really like. He has they list him as a shooting guard on Draft Express. I could see him playing a bit at small forward. He bulked up a little bit. I mean, he has like a I believe like a 6'10" wingspan. Reminds me a lot of Justin Anderson, who went to Dallas last year. So I cheated. I gave 3 names, but really the big thing I'd focus on with that 32nd pick is just somebody who can play defense, because Lord knows nobody on the Lakers could last year.
Brogdon had a 6'10.5" wingspan.
Yeah, so
it says 6'5.5" in shoes. So yeah, he could potentially play the 3.
With the league kind of going smaller, you could see him as a kind of a small ball 3, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I agree with you on the 2 to stay away from. I'm not a huge fan of AJ Hammond, just partly because he's just so old. I have no idea how good, or how much he'll improve in the NBA. I've always thought of just the draft, unless you're picking at the end of the draft, and you're picking guys that are fit, that have some potential. I've always thought of the draft as you pick crazy upside guys. I don't like Thon Maker. I almost always slip saying his name too. His hands are small, and he likes to try and play like a guard, and because his hands are small, he's not great at handling the ball. Plus, he's not if you've ever watched the videos, and I know it's just highlights and whatnot, but he has a hard time controlling lobs and stuff, so that's something that always worries me. And hands aren't something that generally just all of a sudden get bigger overnight.
Yeah.
A couple of guys that I would look at 32. I did like DeJounte Murray that Nelson brought up. A guy that I don't know if he'll be there is Patrick McCaw too. A shooting guard, but he's 6'7", and I think he's got a crazy wingspan too. 6'7" or 6'6" and 3/4 with a 6'10" wingspan. He'd be interesting. Of course, there's other guys like Malachi
Richardson.
Yeah,
Didn't he just return to the? Didn't he just return to the college?
No, that was someone did. I don't think he did. I think he said that he was sticking with it. Let me look it up real quick.
Also, I'd like to renege on Key. I don't want to have to deal with Key stands if the Lakers draft him. I didn't consider that. I was reading through the comments on his on Draft Express. I don't want to have to deal with that.
Funny. Malachi Richardson signed with an agent. He's not going back.
Yeah, so I was completely wrong. Good.
Yeah. And do you guys ever pay attention to Jim Boeheim, obviously the head coach of Syracuse?
I tried not
to. Whenever he loses a guy that he likes a lot, he trashes them in the media. And just yesterday, I think it said, headline, of course it was from ESPN, Malachi Richardson soaring draft stock, Boeheim calls media nonsense. So that's really a guy that I'd love my kid to return to. Total sarcasm. One last name. Really, the 2 guys that I would really look at is Malachi Richardson, as I just said, and Chinanu Onuaku, the center from Louisville. Partly, one, I want to see him shoot free throws underhand. Someone compared him to his ceiling to a Festus Ezeli, and I kind of like that. I've watched him a little bit. He's good. He's a big man that can pass, and that's something I do like.
I actually have a guy. Once you're done talking about him.
No, you're good.
Oh, you okay?
Thing, but you're good.
So I actually picked him in the mock draft at 30 for Lakers Outsiders. I think it'd be cool to see the Lakers draft Sheik Diallo out of Kansas. I think he'd be an excellent small ball guy. And
Tom would be happy.
Yeah, Tom would be
just,
incredibly happy.
Yeah, I think he's gonna go way higher now.
Oh, I do too.
After his, if he slips, oh no, I've been saying for months, if he's there, take him.
Yeah.
I think I bet he goes close to lottery now. It wouldn't surprise me. So, how you brought up Jacob Karras-Levert, I think that would be an excellent guy to do what Kyle and I said, buy a pick and pick him. I think that would be awesome. You know, a high risk, or not really even a high risk. That's a low risk, high reward type thing. Yeah. So if you could
especially
buy,
if you get him in the second round on basically a non-guaranteed contract.
Yeah, say you buy one of Boston's picks. They've got 45 right here. Boston, like I said, has like 8 picks this year. If you can take him at 45, I think that's a home run. So
I'd be surprised if he lasted that long. I mean, I'd really be surprised if once you get into workouts with him, I think he's going to shoot up draft boards. I'd be surprised if he falls to the second round, to be honest, because I mean, a 6'7" point guard / shooting guard that can score the way he can. I mean, there's a lot to like about him, and I think he's a guy that's going to benefit from getting in the gym, especially in situations where he plays against other prospects.
If he was healthy, I would agree. If he was healthy, I think he goes lottery. My concern is he's still in a boot. He was at the
really? Shows how much I'm paying attention. Jesus.
At the draft combine, at the draft combine, he was still in a boot. And I think they said he was still going to be in it for another week or two. So.
Oh yeah, well then never mind. Yeah, if he's in a boot, then all these teams are going to freak out over injury concerns, and he's not. Nobody's going to take him in the first round at that point.
Yeah, I mean, if he can get out of the boot in the next week or so, and then he still has a month to go to workouts and whatnot, I think he still could do that because, like you said, he's an incredibly talented player and he's highly intriguing. It's just the injury concern is going to be scary.
When is the draft?
The draft is
fan.
I believe it's June 23rd. I believe.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. So that probably means I'm wrong again.
I'll look that one up to see if you're wrong.
I just want to ask, what's the infatuation with Malcolm Brogdon? Because I've heard his name come up recently a lot in Lakers Twitter and in the podcast that you guys had. I just want to know what exactly is so enticing for a guy that's 23 years old.
He can shoot and he can defend really well. It is June
39. Yeah, he's a 39% three-point shooter that has a 6'10" wingspan, basically. He's a 3-and-D guy, as how I view him. I know they list him as a shooting guard, but I mean he would be a lot like Anthony Brown, I guess, in a way that he's going to be an older guy who, if he hits shots, he'll find a role in the league, and if he can't hit shots consistently, then you'll have like Anthony Brown, who couldn't get, and like somebody mentioned earlier, he couldn't get consistent playing time, to be fair, but I like his ability to hit shots and defend, basically. And like I said, I'm all for focusing on defense with that pick. So just get somebody who can defend, just as many defenders as we can acquire. We need them badly.
Yeah. I think also the age, it kind of helps them out a little bit more for the Lakers and how we kind of need some more older guys instead of like just going young, potential. I think that we need a couple like Larry Nance guys who are good leaders on the court, good players, know their role and stick to it.
And like we were talking, they're going to be more physically mature as well. So I mean, they're going to be ready for the league.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Honey, for picking a UNLV guy, but what can I say? Any last notes on 32?
I was trying to look up how much it would roughly cost the Lakers to buy a pick in the second round. Couldn't find anything, but I'm guessing it's only like somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million at that point, and it's like, why not?
If I recall correctly, they spent. You have $3 million you can add in on the trades or spend on picks. I want to say they spent like 1.3 million on the second round pick they got Clarkson for.
That's a bargain.
Yeah, so you're looking at, if you're going late first round, probably 2 million or so, I'd say. And
I'd say it's closer to 3 now with how highly valued draft picks are. But maybe, I mean, that's, I don't know.
I think, situation. Boston's one, and the other one you could look at could be Golden State with
the 30.
Yeah, pick 30. They're going to have a couple guys. They need the money, especially with the cap situation. So that could be another one you look at.
Or the Suns. They have a lot of picks, and they have 28. So
maybe Jerry West will throw us a bone.
Yeah, Suns have 3 in the first, and they have 34. So maybe 34 could be targeted. 35 with Boston. That's another Boston pick you could go after. The Bucks have 2 picks in the second round at close, 36 and 38. I don't know if Houston even will bother with their second round pick. That's who Draft Express has taking Malachi Richardson.
Okay.
There's New Orleans, they have 39 and 40. Houston again at 43. So there are options, and I hope that they do that. I know me and Jamie have talked about it. I think in the group chat about how many young guys you would want on the team, and I've said between 7 and 8, at least half the team. I don't know about you guys if you would rather just have the core or so that we have, and then just the 2 or the 2 picks that we have or anything like that.
I think this is kind of the final stage of the rebuild. I think this is the last year you really go for young players, especially when with having brought in Luke. I think whatever holes you think need to be filled with your core at this point, you go and get them because you can't. And really, this kind of keeping the pick probably signaled the end of the cycle because we're not going to have a pick next year. At that point, we're not going to be tanking 2 years from now. I pray to God not. I'll be dead from alcoholism at that point. So this is the moment. The way I kind of view it, the moment we kept that pick, this should be the last stage of this part of the rebuild. Get whatever young players you need, and let's move on to developing the core, just keeping those guys together. And one thing to kind of touch on, and I noticed it the other night when we were doing that mock draft, there's no way Boston keeps all those picks. They have too many people. Their roster is already just a huge log jam everywhere, and they have 8 draft picks. There's no way they either don't make a move that includes multiple draft picks for whether it be a player or something, or they don't just basically sell them off because that's just they just have they're not. It's not feasible to add 8 players to any roster, let alone a roster that's already just a mess.
And already a playoff team.
Yeah, yeah. You're not going to add 8 rookies to a playoff team.
Yeah. I'm trying to look up real quick their salary cap roster. So next year they have Amir Johnson on an unguaranteed deal, which at $12 million, I think that's fine. They have Avery Bradley, Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Jonas Direcpo. I think they could let him go, but I don't know. He's on an unguaranteed deal too, so that's just gravy for them. Marcus Smart. Then they've reportedly want Evan Turner back. Everyone is saying that Tyler Zeller leaves. I think he leaves too. They'll just probably not even throw him a qualifying offer. They have Olenek and they have Solinger, who I think they let go. I've never been a fan of him. Rozier, James Young, which they could just cut. It's $1.8 million. He hasn't done really
If they
anything.
cut James Young, I'd go after him. I was
I've
a big James Young fan. I'd be surprised if they let him go.
I've said that ever since they drafted him that I hated him going there. I know that he hasn't been good, and a lot of people don't like him, but he's young. He's got incredible length, and he was able to shoot. Then they also have last year's picks, Jordan Mickey. I don't think they let him go if they even just put him in the D League. And then R.J. Hunter, who, even though he didn't look great this year, there's no way that they let him go. He was a first-round draft pick. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. At least I think 11 players coming back. So you can only have 15 on the roster, so 4. They're gonna have to sell off half of those, and that's if they don't make a big play in a trade or something.
They're definitely gonna try for that.
Yeah, I think that you could potentially buy 2 picks from them. I'm not saying that we would. I'm just saying that I could see them just selling 2 picks away.
Or Can I bring up one guy real quick?
Just one point I'll mention. They could do just a bunch of draft and stash guys, which is probably also what they're probably looking at if they keep the pick. Go ahead, Kyle.
Jonathan Holmes. How do we feel about him? I want to talk about this.
I brought that up the other day on Twitter. I would sign him in a heartbeat. Like no question about it.
I would definitely sign him. I liked him a lot before he got hurt, and
he was a rumored first-round draft pick last year. So that he somehow fell out of the draft, I never understood that one. And then Boston, who needed shooting, he killed it in summer league, and they just let him walk.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nelson, do you have any opinion on him?
When I was starting my young blog career, I wrote a little thing on him, and I think I was a pretty big fan. I thought he could be a pretty decent rotation guy eventually, and I still think you're still looking at rotation guys because our bench is nothing but a sure thing. So you can plug in guys and sign them, and if you don't like what he does during summer league or preseason, then you cut him. I like what I saw because I went to the Ontario, the one that was right here, preseason game, and I like what I saw. He scored 10 points, made 3 threes. I was pretty impressed.
Jacob?
I mean, I'm basically willing to give anybody a flyer at this point. Him, the other one, Michael Frazier. I would be surprised if both of them are not on these training camp roster. They both were last year. They both, until Holmes got hurt. He was kind of right there, maybe a little bit borderline being kept. Frazier was one of the last guys cut. Meta's gone.
Do you guys want Meta on the coaching staff real quick?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Why don't you want him on, Kyle?
I don't know. I was just making a quick answer. I guess I'd be okay with it.
Just randomly spewing out the first thing that came to your mind. Yeah.
I was like, first impressions, no. Because the first thing that came to my mind was, for some reason, Malice at the Palace. I was like, just imagine if he did that in a suit and tie.
Funny you mentioned Meta, because as we speak, Harris is tweeting out from a interview he did on the Dan Patrick Show. Meta said he didn't know who was available in the draft, then suggested the Lakers draft Thon Maker. And then Harrison follows with, Meta World Peace should probably not be given personnel power.
Yeah.
But as a player development guy, I'm fine with it. I mean, I was fine with him being on the roster this year. I didn't want him to play as much as he did, but he seemed to have a good influence on guys like Randall and Larry Nance. So as a player development type of guy, like what Mark Madsen is, I mean, yeah, I'd keep him around.
Yep. You brought up Frazier, and I think he'd be an intriguing guy to bring back. My only thing is if they want him back, because they sent him down to the D League, or they didn't send him down. They cut him and then signed him to a deal down there. But then I don't know if it was okay with the Lakers, since they're the parent club. But then the Defenders traded him, and then he kind of just disappeared. Mm-hmm. So I think if you can bring guys that can shoot and can defend at all, and he showed that he can shoot and defend at least a bit, I think that would be an interesting guy to bring back as well.
My brother's a huge Gators fan, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. But when the Lakers added him the first time, he called me right away and said that was a great pickup for the Lakers, and he thought for sure that he would make the Lakers, even though he ended up not doing it.
I thought he'd make it too.
Yeah, my brother's a big Michael Frazier fan.
I'll be interested to see as well how many players they call up from the Defenders, because the Defenders were good this year. They went to the finals. And two guys, I know Ryan Gomes played really well, and I judge this basically. Shout out to Harrison for his amazing coverage of the Defenders this year. The problem with Gomes is he's 33, but I know he played well. But the other guy that could be intriguing is Andre Ingram, who we're talking about shooting, lights out shooter. He's 30 as well, but again, you can't have every player under 20. He hit 49% of his threes this year on 228 attempts. Lights out shooter. And that's what you need with next to Russell. That's why I've always kind of been a little hesitant about the fit with him and Clarkson. When Clarkson's hitting threes, it's fine. Mm-hmm. But if you get people to space the floor around him, especially if you get Ingram, so a guy like, both Ingrams, Brandon and Andre, put them out there on either side, and really helps open up the floor both for Russell and for Randall.
Justin Harper looked really intriguing to me too. I think he's like 6'9" and he can space the floor. He was on the Defenders. He even got a minor cup of coffee, throwing a baseball term right there, with, I think it was the Pistons. So that'd be a guy to look at as well. Real quick, let's skip the D-Lo workouts, but the all rookie teams came out today. What did you guys think of those? Let's go with you first, Jacob.
I saw him briefly. I didn't really have much of an issue with it for the most part. I think I know Devin Booker got a lot of votes. That was a little interesting, I guess, but for the most part, you may be able to, I guess, make the case Okafor didn't deserve it, I guess, over somebody like Russell or even Winslow. I think Winslow was second team. I thought Winslow was probably better than Okafor this year. But I think for the most part they got the right 10 guys, and that was kind of the big thing. I don't know who was first team and second team all rookie last year, so I know Clarkson was second team, but I couldn't name you anybody else on either team really. So it's not that big of a deal. It's a good honor to have. You'll remember that he was on an all rookie team, but if you asked me who was on their all rookie team 4 years ago, I wouldn't have a clue who to say. So I don't put a whole lot of stock into it.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I wish he was on first team, but in the end, I don't really care enough to get too upset about it.
Am I freezing out?
No, you're good.
Maybe he's not good.
Can you hear us? We hear you.
Oh.
I guess not.
Well,
that's fun.
Are we back now?
Are you?
So.
Yeah, we've been here.
Oh no. Well, am I back now? Sorry. Real quick, YouTube comment, Victor Charles. What happened to Robert Upshaw? He got essentially like thrown out of the D League. But if you follow him on Twitter, an account that says he is. He's tweeted pictures
There's
of
like
me.
a 0% chance that's him. I don't think, but
I don't think it's him either.
regardless, yeah.
There's the picture. I don't know. They're the pictures that he daps to people just all of a sudden. So, I mean, unless it's like on a Facebook account or Twitter or I have no idea, but I think
or something.
Yeah. What do you think, Jamie, about the all-rookie team?
I said it while you were frozen, I think, but just I don't really care enough either way to get too upset about him not being on the first team. I'm glad he made one of them. In 3-4 years, it's not going to matter.
Because he'll be a multiple-time All-Star.
Exactly. In 3 or 4 years, probably getting his first MVP, so it'll be fine.
Finals MVP.
Kyle, do you have any opinions on it?
My opinion on the all-rookie team is that Marcelo Huertas got a vote, so that's
Shout out to Rick Bucher for putting Marcelo Huertas and D'Angelo Russell on the second team.
That's how much stock I put there
this year.
Yeah. Like I guess with the rest of them, I don't care. He'll be getting his own accolades that actually matter in a few years. And even if he doesn't get accolades, he's going to be on a team that's worth watching. That's my thing. Yep.
Yeah. Nelson?
I just think that the entire Nick Young scandal was really the only case, the only justifiable reason why he wouldn't be on there. That, and you could argue consistency, that he wasn't 100% all there, all 82 games. Like he had a couple low games and a couple high games and some medium games. But I just think that it just speaks more to the depth of this draft class and how good it is and how if you look at both first and second team, you could make a case that the second team could have been the first team and the first team could have been the second team. I think it goes both ways, and I think although I do question why Kristaps was unanimous vote for that one. I think that was kind of, I'm not sure. He had 2 good months of basketball, and apart from that, he kind of just fell a bit off of his hot streak.
I don't really care about it. I mean, I would have put him on the first team, but I don't know if that's just homerism or what. Like I said with Okafor's net rating, I wouldn't have put him on the first team, but that's just me.
I think Nelson mentioned it, but the Nick Young thing, more than anything, the timing of it really kind of screwed him because, I mean, Jahlil Okafor punched a guy outside of a bar, but he did it early enough in the season, everybody forgot about it. So
he did it. He knocked out 2 people and then got caught going then got caught going $120 on the freeway.
Yep.
Something like that.
So lesson to future rookies: if you're gonna do dumb things, do it in like December, not in March.
And in Philly, and not LA.
True. Also that.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready to get to questions?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I'll go off of mine, Jamie, and then you can do.
We didn't really get too many today.
First off, RJ, I like to ask all the questions. Gary on the LO podcast from yesterday decided to skip my question of asking Honey if it was a boy or a girl baby, since he got a follower that was something for pregnancy, and he skipped over it. So I don't appreciate that, Gary. Even though you don't follow me on Twitter, like it's
wow,
fine.
call him out.
Shots fired.
I know.
He even follows me.
I did.
I should be telling you.
It's sad. It's
game isn't strong enough.
Oh, I know. Well, I did call that. I found a GIF about it, and he kind of just like threw it on the wayside. I was like, oh, thanks, guys. RJ at our Lakers 16. If a fork were made of gold, would it still be considered silverware?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's done. From oh my word. hashtag SRC, hashtag SRB, hashtag loading. At Kane Folarin SR. Could you see Simmons running point like Magic and D'Lo running two at some point in the future if we draft him, obviously?
Yeah, you probably have to. I mean, you're gonna have to get real creative if you draft Simmons and keep Randall. I mean,
No, it was Russell. D'Lo.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you're gonna play them both
yeah.
on the floor together, you're gonna have to get creative and just. I mean, I'm down for anything. Let him run point. Let him be the small ball five. Let him play anywhere in between. I mean, like I said, I mean, you're gonna have to. It's gonna be basically positionless basketball if you're gonna keep them both. So I'm fine with it.
Agreed. Anyone else got something to say on that?
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the further we go, the less positions are really going to matter in the NBA. It's already going that way.
That means though that we're saying that Jalen was right. So
sucks, but
every so often, you get one bad accident.
A broken clock's right twice a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked Ingram this year. Probably the first year I might have a good choice for the draft. It happens every once in a while.
Yeah.
Watch your shot to be a bust now.
Yeah.
Oh, right. It's settled. Don't draft Ingram.
Don't draft Duke, guys. That's pretty much been the mantra.
That has been
I'm sorry,
one that's been called out a ton lately. I'm just look at there have been busts, but there's also been a lot of good hits on that one, in my opinion. But whatever.
JJ Redick, the GOAT.
Yes.
At Nazir Lim, if I say I'm a coach, am I really a coach? And this is referencing Coach Dave Miller.
That's Dave Miller, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've all except probably Kyle because he's too much of a nice guy. I think we've all gone after him. Maybe not. I guess maybe not Jacob. I know I have.
No, I did.
I went after him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jacob got into a disagreement about Kobe playing the 4 with him, didn't you?
Last summer, I had some friendly gentlemen start tweeting at me, telling me what a dumbass I was because I said Kobe couldn't play the 4, and then he decided his logic would be to involve Dave Miller, and I told Dave Miller that he was an idiot, and that's good enough to get blocked.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten blocked yet. I've tried a couple times. Hasn't happened.
Dave Miller hasn't blocked me. Someone else has, but I'm not
I
gonna.
haven't been blocked by Jalen either, and I've tweeted 81 at him plenty of times.
Are you a Laker fan?
I know, right?
Then we've got at Justin21 LAL. He asks if I am a god for the picture that potentially could be. I don't know if you guys can see it real well.
Yeah.
It's the one with Julius, JC, DR, and then Ingram right there, and then Luke in the background.
He could be.
I said I'm gonna call him a deity. I'm not going that high.
He could be God, but he could also be the Antichrist. So.
Yeah, exactly. And with him and his love for Captain America, he's probably the Antichrist. Yes, I went there, Justin. I went there. Someone asked if Lakers draft Ingram, should he start or come off the bench? We already talked about that. Ryan Suarez. This is a name that I find interesting. I don't know if I would take him for the Lakers, but when's the earliest you think Kay Felder would go in the draft? He's a 5'9" point guard, crazy fast. He tested at like the second highest vertical jump at the combine, I believe. It was insane. I think, yeah. How would you guys even be interested? Like, if you buy the pick or?
I mean, he's a crazy good scorer. I heard a little bit about him up here, and he's a stat stuffer. But I mean, I wouldn't be against, I guess, drafting him, but he's 5'10" point guard who. He averaged 2 steals a game, but 6'2" wingspan. That's a little too redundant for me. I mean, if you draft him, Probably have to get rid of Huertas and probably have to get rid of Lou and have somebody that can play defense, or you're just going to be a revolving door in the backcourt against everybody.
Agree.
I think the only two I am very, very, very pro taking best player available. This year, I certainly wouldn't do it for power forward. Don't draft a power forward this year.
Right.
No.
And if you're going to draft a point guard, he better really excel at defense or at a certain area like Gary Payton the third or second. Other than Tyler Ulis, I really like. Don't draft him. He's too small and he's going to be a terrible fit with the Lakers backcourt. But other than that, I mean, I don't think I'd get upset that they drafted him, but it just would be a bit too redundant with what we have.
Yeah, I think that would be more like if you buy a pick late, like mid-50s. So, Drew Hernandez, the one that we all love to mock. Your guys' rookie over at Lakers Outsiders.
Yeah. I hazed him yesterday or today. I don't remember.
Well, you're no longer the rookie now, Kyle. So I guess you get to do that.
It's been a while since I've been the rookie because we got Grant and we've got a few other people.
True.
I'm not the rookie anymore, so that's the thing too.
Nah, you're still the rookie. You're too young still. You're still the rookie. You could be on Lakers Bulls for the next years, and you'd still be the rookie. I'm just playing Nelson. Drew asked, what are the full potential comparisons for Simmons and Ingram? Let's go with Nelson first.
I think for Simmons, it's pretty much clear that's LeBron. And kidding. I think that.
Well, no, it's full potential. Honestly.
I do think
this is reaching their max ceiling, and yeah.
I think that'd probably be a combination between LeBron and I think he'd probably fall just a little bit flat of LeBron if he really improves on his jump shot and his defense. I think he falls just under LeBron because LeBron he's just a different animal. I bet Simmons can. He'll never be that. And I think for Ingram, I think I'd probably go just a little bit. I'd probably go a solid notch under Kevin Durant, just because of how Ingram can create offense with just using his length and rising over people. I think that's compared similar to Durant, and I think Ingram could become a better defender, but not as good as an offensive weapon because Kevin Durant's just insane. He's probably one of the best offensive players of all time.
Arguably the best scorer ever.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. Ingram could never beat that. So.
Jacob.
If we're talking absolutely full potential, I mean, Simmons, it has to be LeBron. I think probably another comparison you could make, he probably wouldn't be quite as good of a shooter, but he could be kind of a version of Lamar Odom.
That's a comp I actually really, really like.
Yeah, Lamar had a good jump shot. Simmons could develop a jump shot, so maybe kind of a slightly different version of Lamar Odom, but mainly just on the shooting. For Ingram, I think a name we mentioned was Antetokounmpo, probably a better jump shooting version of Antetokounmpo. Say that name 3 times. Another guy he kind of reminds me of a bit. Again, he'd probably be a better shooting version of him, but Tayshaun Prince too.
Yeah, it's been brought up a lot.
I don't think people appreciate how good Tayshaun was back with the Pistons early on in his career. Kyle, who do you?
So I think this is probably the first or one of few times this has happened, but I directly agree with Nelson on a point, and that Simmons could be a notch under LeBron, and Ingram could be a notch under Durant, and I'm okay with everything that he said. I was like nodding along the whole time, like, yeah, wow, okay, this is the first time that we've actually agreed on something, including like video games and stuff, and even food takes to some point. So.
I stand by my opinion that corn tortillas are better than flour.
Yeah.
Wait, that what?
That corn tortillas are better than flour tortillas.
Okay.
Wrong. You're very, very wrong.
Actually, we did agree on that too, because I do like the corn a lot.
Right.
So,
Yeah, well, Lakers Twitter spoke on Lakers polls, and they like flour better. So
yeah.
I
also probably want to open for it, so that does
Shade was thrown.
Terrible. Jamie, do you have anything else to add to that question?
No, Simmons is definitely in the LeBron Magic mold. I don't think there's a comp better than that for him. And Ingram is going to be a lesser Durant, lesser offense, perhaps more defense.
Yes. All of it.
Yes.
I've brought up the Greek Freak several times, just a better shooting Greek Freak for Ingram. I think that would be really, really good. He probably won't be as good a ball handler as Giannis, but he's the Greek Freak for a reason. He's an absolute, crazy guy.
And that's not really a knock on Ingram, because I think his playmaking is really underrated. I think people just see him as a scorer shooter, but he can pass the ball, he can dribble it up the court if he needs to.
Yeah, I think a lot of aspects of his are really underrated. Obviously, I think that. His passing is better than a lot of people think, and he can handle the ball better than people think. He got killed against Louisville, but I mean, as Jacob can attest to, that's a Rick Pitino team, like that. It's nothing really to sniff at or whatever at. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm running out of cliches and trash like that.
I'll add real quick. We mentioned as much as he was a small ball four, he was also a kind of secondary point guard. That team didn't really have a natural point guard. Their point guard issue was kind of weird all year with Grayson Allen, everybody's favorite player, but
Ted Cruz.
Yeah, Ted Cruz's son, Zodiac Killer's son. But Ingram.
I just realized what you said. I'm sorry.
Ingram, and Nelson's right, there's a lot of his game that's underrated. He's stronger than people give him credit for, and he is a much better playmaker than people give him credit for. He can get by his defender, and it's not instantly just go up for a shot. I mean, he knows where players are. He can feed players. As much as there would be Russell to Ingram for a three, there's going to be Ingram to Russell for a three. So
yeah,
I agree.
It's even for being the number 2 pick, there's a lot of his game that's underrated. Or number 1 or number 2 pick.
He did a ton for Duke in the second half of the season.
Yeah, he was Duke's team for Duke lost a couple guys to injury, and they were down to about 6 guys that they could play, and he was playing every minute as their entire team. He just did so much for Duke last year.
Yep. And the craziest thing is, I don't think you followed me even back then. I was always saying, like, look at how he didn't touch a ball for minutes at a time, like they would just it would be Grayson or Kennard.
He's got to have a tiny bit of resentment for Grayson Allen deep down in there somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm sure everybody does.
Yeah. I mean, there was times where they had 4 point guards on the floor with Ingram. It was Jones, well, not really 4 point guards, but ball dominant guys. Jones, Thornton, Grayson Allen and Kennard with Ingram as the 5. You know, like there was a game where Plumlee was in really bad foul trouble like the entire game.
So like every game.
Yeah.
Like every game. And of course, Coach K did not trust Chase Jeter at all. He would put him in for like a minute, and then he was like, "Get out of here, get out of here." So yeah, it would be four ball dominant guys, and then him, and he went at such a ball for a long time, and I was just like, seriously, like, get him the ball.
And while he was doing everything, his efficiency really didn't take a hit either, which was what is impressive.
No.
And I think.
Sorry, you go, Nelson.
I think another facet that's underrated is we give Ben Simmons a lot of credit for his first step, and Julius Randle as well. But Ingram's first step is actually really, really quick when you look at it, and I think his ability to shoot the ball, which is something that Randle and Simmons don't have, also creates the thought in the defender's mind whether he's going to step back and shoot the J or take it all the way. And he's pretty good at drawing contact too. He's not shy from taking the hit here and there. So I think there's actually a lot more aspects that people think are underrated about Simmons' game. I mean,
it also helps when one of your steps is 3 normal steps.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for it for questions on my side. Do you have any, Jamie, from LP?
I really only have one that you didn't touch, and it was, assuming the Lakers get Ingram in a few years, do you think Russell or Ingram will be the primary scoring option?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a who's hot.
Do any of you guys really want to talk in depth on that at all, or
it's going to be
just yes all around?
Probably something like with Steph and Clay right now, where, like Jimmy said, whoever's hot, that's going to be the guy. I mean, it's really hard to say because it's hard to say how Ingram will develop,
right.
But I don't know. That's a good question. I'd say probably Russell, but I mean, I could see them both being great scoring options.
Right. I could see them both being within a couple points per game average of each other throughout their time, and it's just going to be a who's on that night, and then nights that they're both on is not going to be fun for the other.
Probably something closer to what Westbrook and Durant have than what Clay and Steph have.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that kind of like what OKC has. I think it's more Kevin Durant focused. I think the Kevin Durant of the Lakers will be Russell, and how I think he'll be the number 1, and I think Ingram will be the 1B in the offense, and how he'll still get his, but I think it'll most likely be Russell with the high end.
I can agree. Russell looks like he's going to be a pretty prolific scorer in this league.
Yeah. I think also defer to Ingram if he wants to, because he can get on the ball in spots.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually had this conversation earlier today, and I'm trying to find it in my mentions real quick. I want to say it was with. Go ahead, real quick.
Another question is, what option will Randle be for the Lakers? Because I'm not really high on his offense. I don't know if you guys believe it.
I think Randle will be around 15-ish a game for his career. Right, have him at. He's going to be the garbage man.
Yeah,
highly skilled garbage man.
He's going to kind of carve out his niche as, like you said, a garbage man, a rebounder. Again, another similar to Lamar Odom, how he was able to get a rebound, push it up the court, create those matchup issues. He could go coast to coast. I think Odom is probably a really good comparison to him, probably a better rebounding version of Odom.
Yep.
Odom was fine being – he's probably the 3rd option on those title teams, and he was great to have. He was fine with it, and you needed somebody like him on those teams.
Yeah, and Randle seems competitive enough to where he could defer to a role like that if it ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. on the Ingram and Russell. I was with Justin 21 LAL, and then at Everyone Hates D. I'm sorry, bro. I do not want to butcher your name. Demarier Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about it earlier. I think, as you guys said, it would be just kind of who's hot. I think, though, that it would be interesting because of I think actually Russell would be the bigger matchup problem for a lot of people.
Right.
Because even though Ingram's going to be 6'9" with a 7'3" wingspan, he's going to be going up guys that have good length and stuff as well, and good size and whatnot. Russell is 6'5" with a 6'9" wingspan, and he was as a rookie he was showing in the post that he can just take people down and back them down, and so
I did not know it was part of his game already. I thought it was going to be something he was going to have to work a lot on. I didn't expect it to be as effective as it was from day one.
Yeah, he was good at it at Ohio State, but yeah, I thought it was going to take him a little while. So while I think it would be just kind of back and forth, I do think that it would be Russ. I think it would be Russell just because of that. So, do you any last tidbits or anything like that?
That's all I got.
Yeah, Max DeMar.
And good night, everyone.
Max DeMar's that buddy with the 2. There's the team.
I had to let go of the buddy talk, so I had to do something.
You get the shooting with Buddy, and then you get the slashing with DeRozan.
It's the best combo you could think of.
It's the best of both worlds, like Miley Cyrus says, or Hannah Montana. Now it's the time to end the podcast.
I made a Max DeMar reference, but you made a Miley Cyrus reference, so...
No, I made a Hannah Montana reference.
You did both of them. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. That makes me actually think that you saw Hannah Montana a bit to know that. So...
I was pretty excited. I'm not.
Oh man.
That was a pretty non-committal response, I think.
I can neither confirm nor deny these reports.
Oh man. I'm just gonna say no to the Max DeMar, but did we talk free agency with you, Kyle, the last time you were on?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure that was the only thing we could talk
Yeah,
about.
I know. Yeah. No, we talked coaching candidates, and then we talked a bunch of free agency.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jacob, this is dangerous. Then if you're
I'm
actually
ready.
saying that.
No.
No. I want to know who are guys that you would actually target, and if you would actually target them. I don't even know if I'm going to look at the screen.
I said this. Somebody asked me earlier this morning about DeRozan and if I really wanted him. DeRozan's not target number 1. He's probably not even in the top 5. But I'm not going to be upset or complain if we sign a guy like DeMar DeRozan because we need talent more than anything. I mean, we just lack so much of it. If I had to say like a top 5, in no particular order, probably Whiteside would be up there. This one's probably as controversial. Harrison Barnes.
No.
Yeah, let's go.
I know he takes a lot of flack, but he fills a very big hole for us. I get that also depends on
playing small ball 4?
If we draft we probably don't need to sign Barnes. It was a lot like last year where We drafted Russell, didn't need to go after Dragic, something like that. So I'd have him on there. Bazemore, have him come back. I'm trying to think of some lesser guys. I think Solomon Hill might be somebody you could get cheap. I watched him a bit with the Pacers this year since they were always on TV.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you ever listen to the Nate Duncan podcast?
No.
Dunked On. Well, do you follow him on Twitter, Nate Duncan?
I believe so.
He had, I think this is crazy. He had Solomon Hill at, I think it was 12 to 15 million in free agency. Would you pay that much?
See, God. Contracts this summer are going to be stupid.
Yeah. I always say the over, but I have no clue.
My first instinct was no, but you're gonna have to pay that. I mean, that's what Damari Carroll got that last year. So I mean, God, give Solomon Hill Damari Carroll money. I mean, that's a big hole. He fills it. He's young. I mean, you're gonna have to pay just stupid amounts of money this year. That's probably going to be a reasonable contract this summer.
I have no idea what a good contract is right now with the new cap.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers that are going to be thrown around this summer are just going to be just absurd. It's hard. I mean, if you say $12 million a year for Solomon Hill, I'd probably say yeah. Just because, I mean, I'm tired of seeing Wes Johnson and Nick Young and Kobe. I mean, Kobe as a small forward was depressing this year. And
is Wes a free agent? We could always bring him back.
Oh God, no.
I'm muting you.
That length and athleticism, he has some potential as a 3-and-D. We should try it out.
There were people this year that were trying to say that they would love to have him back, and I was just like, did you not watch?
Yeah, buddy, I'd love to see some more pull-up two-pointers that brick off the side of the rim and he run back and jump really high and whiff on a block. Yeah, do it. Let's keep going.
Lakers basketball.
If it weren't, I mean, he played decently this year because he was probably used in the best way that he's ever been used. But I mean, if Mike D'Antoni can't get a player like that to be productive, then good luck. That's a perfect kind of player for D'Antoni, and he was. I mean, he can't hit jumpers consistently. He can't make smart decisions. He can jump really high, though. That's cool.
Yeah. So you have Whiteside, Barnes,
Bazemore, Tyler Zeller, somebody I think we could go after because we just have a huge need at center, and Festus Ezeli as well. Another one I'd probably go after again because I mean right now our starting center is I guess Tarek Black if he comes back. Yep. Otherwise it's Larry Nance.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. What about Biyombo?
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't turn him down. He would probably be right there with Ezeli. He'd probably be. I don't know what he's gonna. Again, the contract's probably going to be insane because, especially the big man market, is going to be pretty thin. So those guys are going to get huge chunks of money, and he's played well enough in the playoffs to kind of get a nice pay bump. So anybody who can defend the rim and roll to it for D'Angelo to throw him lobs, I'm fine with. So if a center can do those two things, I'm fine with giving him whatever contract it would require. So that's why Whiteside's number one for me. And I mean, my list of 5 players had 3 centers, so I think that's probably our biggest hole, especially with Simmons and Ingram. I mean, you could potentially see them as small forwards, as wing players. So I think we really need to find a center.
Yep.
Agree. I kind of threw this out real quick. It will be the final thing. I threw it out, I think, 2 or 3 days ago on Twitter. Now that we have the pick, are there types of flyer guys that you would go after? Like, I think a good example would be Mo Harkless. Portland traded literally like nothing to get him. Are there guys like that you would go after, or are there other? My dream scenario is to trade Lou for either Justin Anderson or Kelly Oubre, even though those are probably both really unrealistic. But is there anyone that any of you guys would just like to get that's obviously not a superstar, or do you know what I'm saying?
Oubre is one that I really thought highly of coming into the draft.
Same here.
I'm sure Washington probably doesn't want to change it. I don't know how much they'll want to change under new coach and whatnot. I mean, we mentioned him earlier. James Young would be one that might be worth going after.
Mm-hmm.
He really, I think there's a lot of young wing players that could be had for cheap. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a whole lot more, but the Lakers also don't really have a history of making great trade decisions like that. So, Tony, I don't know if Tony Snell is a free agent or not. I know that was someone I kind of...
You just made Dempat 7 really happy.
I know that was someone I always kind of thought in trades with the Lakers that could be a nice throw-in. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at previous drafts to see if there's anybody else that I thought of that could have become something. But, I mean, I think it's probably easiest to sign a center and trade for a wing player if we have to do the two, because there are more wing players in the league, young wing players that aren't being used. I think, but Oubre would probably top my list.
Agreed. That's definitely the guy I've been wanting. All right. I think I've kept you guys up way too late as it is. So I think it's, 1:30 over there in Florida, Jamie?
Yeah, and I got to play some Town of Salem now.
Yeah, you and Kyle, I'm sure, are going to go play that. All right. Anything you guys are working on?
Ooh, yeah, actually, I have a plug. It's not Lakers related, though. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm doing a inaugural Game of Thrones podcast after the show on Sunday, featuring Will. He's at Timberwolves, but with an L, if you know him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also featuring us, not this week, but in coming weeks, will be Paul Moses. He's at Scatter Sports. And we have a really nerdy name for our podcast that I'm pretty sure I've already revealed on Twitter. It's Codcast, Though All Men Do Despise Us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Don't know how long we're going to talk, but
what is it? What is it? It froze.
So there's a house in A Song of Ice and Fire, like the book series. They're called House Cod, and their house words are "Though all men do despise us." So Codcast, though all.
Nice.
Yeah. So it'll.
Still need to watch Game of Thrones. I haven't even started it.
I
haven't gotten to watch this season because my in-laws are staying with. Well, technically they're staying with us because they're missionaries over in Cambodia. So that's not really the show to watch around them.
Right.
So I haven't gotten to watch any this year, and whenever on Sunday nights, I just kind of have to ignore Twitter.
Right.
Because everyone's tweeting about it, and just like, stop.
Yeah.
That's why I'm afraid to watch it, because I feel like I know all of the spoilers. I haven't even started the series.
Probably don't.
No.
I haven't even made it through half of the first episode.
So
you need to watch it. It's one of my favorite shows ever.
yeah, I'll go ahead and say that the podcast is going to be very spoiler heavy because we're going to be talking about the first 5 episodes of this season, and then also tying in some book stuff too. So if you haven't read the books, it might be a bit confusing at times, and if you want to read the books, you probably shouldn't listen to us because I know we've both read. I think all 3 of us have read all the books multiple times. So we're going to be talking about a bunch of theories we have.
I have the first one. So I've been in school, obviously, as most of us are. Jacob, you graduated already, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So rest of us are in school. Well, I'm in one of the online schools where you do a class in a month, so I have to read a textbook a month. So I don't have time to read,
right,
giant Game of Thrones book,
but,
even though I would love it. Oh man.
Yeah. So that's like what I want my career to be is I actually want to write those fantasy books. So I read a bunch of them. It's like I'm working. So
yeah,
that's how I make it work.
Nice. Anything else?
I am hopefully in the coming week or so, depending on how much I can do, have a Brandon Ingram breakdown similar to the one I had on Ben Simmons. As I started the other night, kind of finding some game film and some GIFs and whatnot. So I'm hoping next couple weeks or so I can get that out. But yeah, I'll have that out. Hopefully, plenty of GIFs and plenty of breakdown over at Laker Outsiders.
Did you call it a GIF or a GIF?
It's a GIF.
It's a GIF.
It's a GIF.
I've always heard GIF.
GIF.
No, it's a GIF.
It's a GIF. Take it from the two tech guys here, and me and Jamie. It's GIF.
GIF though.
Huh?
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
GIF.
He says GIF.
Oh no!
It's
No.
You missed the podcast where we killed Nelson for that, because even TJ calls it a GIF.
Yeah, TJ says GIF too.
Nah, it's GIF. You guys can all be wrong, though. It's fine. We all have our faults.
We all have our encyclopedia moments.
I mean, Jamie's over here calling them GIFs, and he hasn't watched Game of Thrones, so...
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll get to it.
But then
eventually.
I have the worst food takes, apparently, so...
Yes,
it's
you
okay.
do.
All you guys have the worst food takes.
No, because I've heard Harrison has the worst food takes. But
Oh, the In-N-Out.
No, okay. I have to stick up for Harrison on this one. He went to In-N-Out and had a grilled cheese, okay, and he said it was awesome. So, since he's vegetarian. So.
Yeah, he is vegetarian.
If I went to In-N-Out, I'd definitely want their grilled cheese.
Yeah. But, I mean, he's a vegetarian, so I guess
Fair.
you can't have the full experience, I guess.
Jacob and I are like the only 2 on Lakers Twitter that haven't had In-N-Out, right?
Yeah,
I haven't either. I haven't had it either.
Okay.
Because we're all.
I've never even
Eastern.
seen an In-N-Out before.
Yeah,
Yeah, me
me
neither.
neither.
Terrible. You guys.
Hey, next summer I'm planning to take a trip to LA. So.
You said that this summer, but then you switched.
And then
it, so.
a family cruise happened, and now I'm poor.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Anything else, Jamie? You said that you had
not writing anything.
right, but you
Yeah,
think
so, yeah.
I think Jamie just played video games during his class. That's impressive.
I did. I played Town of Salem during my entire class until my computer got too loud.
He's going to do a collaborative article on Laconic Mnemonic with me about Town of Salem and how into it we are.
Works. It'll be my third thing I've written in the past year.
Right.
I think you wrote a Yankee piece a couple months ago, and that was about it.
Yep. Yeah, I can't remember the last Lakers thing I wrote. I feel really bad.
He wrote a piece about the show on Laconic Mnemonic.
Yep. I did the Yankees for
plug.
The show for Kyle, and I think that's
Nice.
it.
Nelson, you're off of school, so now you've got nothing but time. I already know
I'm
that
carrying
you
my website,
think that
thank
you're Yeah, and he thinks that he's employee of the year or whatever. So.
I mean, I kind of did carry the site for 5 months, but I mean, yeah, let's ignore that for now. And
That's all, just 5 months?
Oh wow. I'm gonna be dropping a mock draft tomorrow. I'm gonna stay up all night working on that, and I also want to plug in my Brandon Ingram and my Ben Simmons scouting reports in case the viewers haven't seen them.
Glad we
I
kept
haven't
it
seen it.
because now those will continue to get clicks. Thank you.
I haven't seen it either.
All the clicks.
The back's kind of sore of you, Jamie.
Hey, don't turn into that other Lakers blog that we don't talk
I
about.
would never.
What are we?
He's
Are
gonna
we
have
afraid?
a,
Are we afraid to call them out?
No, I just
No.
choose not to.
Okay.
He's gonna
Okay.
fund
It's
a
like
giant Stay Swaggy billboard this summer.
no, it's like not. It was like calling Byron the vacancy. It's like I like to not. Like I don't know.
We're all talking about silver screen and roll, right?
Oh.
That's totally
no.
Joking.
Yep.
Oh man. I think all of them are gonna just block you now because Jacob and Kyle are gonna tell everyone.
Oh,
I'm already
They
typing
make
up
you
my
call
DM
them
to Harrison.
snitches and.
Yep. Just typing up my DM to Harrison right now.
How can we turn Kyle into snitch?
Oh, I had a video of this podcast. I got you guys.
Oh wait! Before we end, I'm sorry. All the viewers are probably don't care anymore.
They're gone by now.
Yeah, they're all leaving. Me, Kyle, and TJ all stayed on the talk after the time Kyle was on, and TJ caught me saying that I'm a introvert. I don't like big crowds. So I was in the process of saying that I hate groups of people, but I love the person. Well, he Snapchatted to everyone that me saying just like I hate people. So, I was just like, yes, that's great for future anyone that ever wants to have me on a podcast that's not my own.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
I know, terrible. I'm a terrible human being. I don't want DeMar DeRozan at a max contract. I don't. I'm just
Ben Simmons.
I said I don't hate Ben Simmons. I just like Ingram more. All right. Well, I don't just like after every podcast. I don't have anything. I'm on Twitter and on here.
I'm on Twitter making people mad.
You have a really good habit of that.
I think a bit better at that.
I want to give a quick shout out to everyone who told people to follow me tonight because I went from 390 something followers to over 400 tonight. So
Nice.
Yay. I made it, Mama. I made
it. I still, man. You and Jamie don't have enough followers. Jamie, what are you at now?
415. I just passed 400. I think 3 days ago.
Yeah. I mean, I guess at least the LP has a ton.
No, we had our
NBA
right. account too. I remember that.
Yeah.
NBA Insider.
I think he turned that one into something though.
No, that one got suspended for aggressive following.
Which I blame Jamie for.
That was absolutely me.
Oh my word. Oh man. Okay, well, I think I'm about to pass out and I still have to drive home.
Oh shit.
So, huh?
Nothing.
It's like what, 10 o'clock over there? Getting old on us.
It's 11. Dude, I'm 26. I'm older than all of you. And I have to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning. All right, I'm old and everyone else is writing and I'm not. So, thank you guys very. Yeah, well, yeah, you don't write either. So thank you very much, Jacob, for coming on. Hopefully, you want to come on again and don't hate me now. That.
Assuming that you reduce the call-outs when I'm not here now, since we had the opportunity to slug it out now.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I was doing it so you would find time to come on.
Well, it worked. Here I am.
Yeah, since Jake worked like 16-hour days.
This podcast would have been much better if it was a week ago when we had a chance to get the third pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man! Oh my word! That would have been terrible on Tuesday. Oh my word!
Best podcast ever.
Oh, right before, just me and Jacob going at it.
Yeah.
Just no.
I would have been just laying into, yes, we're going to draft Buddy as soon as we heard the draft. Yes, Buddy, go to LA, let's go.
Oh man. Oh, I'm so glad we don't have the third pick. But yes, thank you again for coming on. We'll see if I lower the call outs. So Kyle, thanks again for coming on. You're awesome as always.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. And then got Nelson the rookie. You can't talk to us because you're not old enough. And Jamie, as always, you're awesome for usually figuring out what I'm trying to say.
I try.
So, all right, you guys have a great night. Bye.
Have a good one.